Forever. Dog.
Joe, there is so much freaking drama around this live-action Snow White movie, and it just won't quit.
Oh my gosh, what happened now?
The drama keeps coming.
What happened this time?
Well, I'll tell you what happened now, but let's go back about a year.
Okay.
To give the people some context. If they're not up to date on the drama
of the live action
yes, because Disney's been doing live action remakes of all their classic movies. Can't wait for Lilo and Stitch. I saw the initial screenshots of Stitch. Looks like Stitch. I'm on board. Let's do it. But before that, we're getting this live action Snow White, I think in March of next year, early next year. But since its inception, this movie has just been torn apart by online dramas of one sort or another. It started with when after the movie was announced and they said that Rachel Zegler, ascendant star of Hollywood, was going to be playing Snow White. Makes sense, right? She crushed it in West Side Story. She put the dress on. She looks like Snow White. She's a great actor, great singer. Makes sense, right? But then Rachel Zegler gave some interviews. One of them was at D23, which I think is, I don't know, Disney's annual
Disney's
expo.
Comic-Con, yeah.
Okay, Disney's Comic-Con. And then something else. So she's in the belly of the beast and just decides to go nuclear on the red carpet.
She's a pip.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it, right?
I do, famously.
And
on record.
So a couple things. All this stuff just feels so like nothing, but people went nuts about it. So she was saying about how they're going to be bringing a modern edge to Snow White. She's like, it's no longer 1937.
True.
She's right about that. We wrote a Snow White that, she's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's going to be dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, et cetera, et cetera. And then she said that, there's not going to be as much focus on the love story as in the original film, and that the prince from the original film is a guy who literally stalks Snow White. She calls that part of the original movie weird. And then, she said, we have a different approach. We're not just going to make it a love story. Like blah, blah, blah. Okay. It's really not about the love story at all. And then she even joked that Prince Charming could get cut out of the movie, but a lot of this too is out of context. That's a joke. I don't know if people got mad about that. And then the big one was I think where it really would cross the line for the the Disney adult mafia was when she talked about how she only watched the original once and didn't really like it or got kind of spooked
You have to pretend like it was your favorite
Yes,
thing when you were a kid.
Right.
No matter the IP or you are portraying, you have to talk about how important it was to you as a child. I remember the funniest one was when Chloe Zhao talked about how important the Eternals was to her growing up with the Eternals press tour. She did not know what that was.
You have to
before
pretend.
they called her.
You
must pretend.
You have to pretend.
No one knew what that was.
Yeah.
You have to pretend.
Yeah.
Rachel,
if you hired me to make the live action Thundercats movie,
when I was growing
up, a franchise I have
no
no familiarity with. I'm sure it's great. I just don't have no familiarity with it. You better believe I'd be out there in that red carpet talking about how it was the most important thing. I'd Photoshop I'd get an old elementary school photo of me and Photoshop a Thundercats T-shirt on and put that as part of the press package.
Big time. Yeah,
right.
You got to do that.
You got to play or you don't.
No,
but
Rachel's thing is that she doesn't play.
She doesn't play the game.
But
she doesn't play the game.
Like, I don't know what's in your timeline here, but she just recently was really mad at Trump online, said a bunch of Trump's horrible, Trump's mean, Trump's bad.
Yes. I hope Trump voters never feel peace.
That stuff like that, and she had to retract. She had to apologize.
She had to retract.
Man, I know.
You're about to be Snow White.
I just want Rachel to just
they made her
be
retract
free.
it.
Why? Just let her do her thing. She's obviously opinionated. Let her cook.
I did love her phrasing. It was like she put like an ancient curse on Trump voters. May you never know peace in this life or the next.
She's an intense
from Gladiator.
young woman. Yeah, I whatever. Anyway, so
good for her. And then she described the remake. This is probably what really sent these maniacs online over the edge. She described the remake as a more PC Snow White. I think that really pissed people off.
And that came to be true when people saw the stills of the Seven.
Okay, because this is when it starts to get in over its head financially. Because this they can probably whatever. And this was a year ago. People are going to move on from this, but when they released stills of, instead of doing the Seven Dwarfs, they were going to do like the Bandits, and it was this ragtag group of.
It was a diverse crew of tall hipsters.
Yes,
that
but they all had
Snow
sort of
White.
like patchwork clothing, and sort of they were sort of like a traveling group of actors or something was the vibe, right? And that was going to be instead of the dwarves, and apparently that was like roundly rejected by the online fans. They said we want the seven dwarves, we want Sleepy and the other six.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Assuming there are hardcore Snow White fans, which is what you're telling me.
Yeah,
that would be one of my of all the fan complaints. It's called Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Let's just just hit our mark and say our lines.
You know what it's a lot like is like these idiotic disclaimers that Disney puts on all their old movies on Disney Plus, where before you have to watch the movie, you have to sit there and get lectured by the people who made the movie about how the movie's bad and you shouldn't be watching it.
It's insane.
It's like, either pull the movie off the streamer or don't. It's like, you made the movie.
I agree with you.
You made it.
Play the movie.
Also, you made it, and then you spent the subsequent 60 years hammering these things into the public consciousness to the point where if I don't show my kid Pinocchio and Peter Pan, he's gonna have this weird gap in his cultural knowledge because you guys have insisted on making these things part of the cultural of American culture, an essential part of the theme park to everywhere else. It's like, you made the movie, you made it an essential movie, and now you're telling me that actually, like, you can watch it, but like, if you do, you're kind of an asshole if you still watch these movies. Like, that's what the disclaimer says. It like puts all the responsibility on the audience. You made and also, who's profiting off the movie still?
They are.
If you really think it's that bad, just pull it off of Disney Plus.
Okay. I don't think there should be any disclaimers because I think that parents and consumers and people watching television should just be like, this is from 1937.
Yeah.
So I have a collection of knowledge about what the culture was like then, and I can just talk to my family about that awkward part of Snow White.
Yeah.
I don't know why we need the infantilizing disclaimer that just obfuscates and like confuses, doesn't like help kids become anti-racist or whatever the initial sort of like impulse of these disclaimers are.
It's just about removing responsibility. It's just like a legal way of removing responsibility from themselves. And it's like when people do those online apologies where they're like, it's come to my attention that an old statement attributed to me has resurfaced, instead of just saying like, I said this thing. Anyway, so they are doing the dwarves now, but
now the dwarves are CGI dwarves.
Yes, because so they had to go back and do reshoots and do all the CGI dwarves. That apparently the budget has ballooned to like over $300 million on this thing. So that's now we're in like, now suddenly every little misstep becomes a potential big misstep because this movie costs $300 million.
I saw 330.
330?
330.
Wow.
I mean, Red One cost 250. Killers of the Flower Moon cost 220. Snow White cost $330. Like, what did Lion King was expensive?
Well, compared to the other live action Disney's, this is the most expensive. Lion King was $260, made $1 billion.
Sure.
Beauty and the Beast $255, Little Mermaid $240. So over $300 makes it the most expensive of these live action remakes, and the one with the rockiest road to theatrical release. Because this week the drama continued, Joe, because they started showing a full length trailer of Snow White in front of Wicked. So tons of people saw it this weekend. But Disney didn't release the trailer online in any kind of official way. And so the trailer started leaking online of people like filming it at Wicked. And then somebody got a hold of a Ukrainian 4K version of the trailer, and that got leaked online. Now, the weird part is the leaked trailer is still online. Disney still has not addressed this or released their own version of it. I mean, famously one of the most litigious companies in the world.
It's their version. It's just for a Ukrainian audience.
But why wouldn't they? It's just weird that on the Disney account, this one is still up, and they haven't released it like officially yet. And they also haven't,
I don't know why they released a Ukrainian trailer online and no other territory. Agree that that's bizarre.
Well, it was a leaked. It's like somebody got a hold of it and leaked it online,
okay.
And that's why I don't know why they haven't like.
You're saying why haven't they clamped down
yet? Or
when a kid wears a knockoff Mickey Mouse watch in China, they have like SWAT teams come and
take
it off of them.
Algorithms. It's all automated. Like if you try to put up like a Mickey Mouse T-shirt on TeePublic or something, literally before the day's over, you will have like a cease and desist in your inbox. It is automatic. So why is this? why are these like
Sloppy.
bootleg trailers still out there? Why has Disney not addressed it? It's just weird. It's
maybe
like
they fired all the people in the department to go get all the IP collected, or like maybe here's some things that we posited earlier. Number one, they all just threw their hands up and said, it's Thanksgiving week. We'll do this on Monday.
That's what we do because there's 10 people that work here.
That's
Disney,
sort of what I have to feel like kind of happened. This production also seems like a bit of a mess.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think they have a lot of fires they're putting out, and this one they haven't even gotten around to the trailer thing yet.
Also, so apparently the fans didn't like this trailer. This trailer is completely and totally fine by my accounts.
So that's what we also have to address is like Joe and I watched this trailer. It's fine. It looks like what you would assume the live action remake.
It looks like the Little Mermaid, but this time they did Snow White.
It looks a little better than the Little Mermaid one. Like if anything, this is one of the better trailers that they've released for their live action movie. I don't understand what the problem is.
Like how about this? It looked twice as good as Wicked, a movie I loved.
Yes,
right.
Very good point.
Yeah.
So. But people online, the Disney adult mafia and so forth, were really pissed off about it.
Get a life.
Yeah.
What they're pissed off? What they're pissed off that there is a trailer in front of Wicked, but it's not online. What level of entitlement have fans, whatever the fuck that is, consumers reached? Where, hey, you put a trailer out in the movie theaters and didn't put it online. It's like, whoa, are you in charge of marketing and distribution at fucking Disney live action? Like, shut the fuck up. Why do you get that? What do you mean people are really mad about it online?
Well, they're mad about the actual trailer itself, like the way it makes the movie look. Because what you were describing is my point of view.
Okay, so I see. Sorry. No,
I don't know why there's this vacuum of with Disney just sort of not responding to it. But the fans online think the movie looks like crap and that Gal Gadot is a bad actor.
I mean, it does look like crap, but it doesn't look crappier than the other ones.
Yeah. So I don't know. But this is just the bad press continues. The sort of mini little fires keep cropping up that they have to push out, and the budget keeps going up.
You lose.
So you need for 330, you need a
$1.7 billion
Wicked lead up where it's just nothing but like good vibes.
Right,
your stars are killing it at the junkets.
Right.
Little viral memes. That's what you need. Like.
Not
if you're having all these problems and the
next.
movie costs $330 million, we're not looking at a good situation here for Disney. I don't think.
Here's and then my final say on this, and I know we've spent a while here on Snow White, but just Zegler's great. Back off. When young women want to speak their mind about politics these days, and that sometimes they say it and they sound like a 20 to 25-year-old person talking about politics, we can just let them do that because they're 20 to 25 years old and they speak very passionately, and you might not like that. But like, remember those Chapel Roan? Everyone got mad at Chapel Roan because she was like, I feel this certain way. It's like, like she's 20. Leave her alone. Stop bothering these especially women. Stop bothering these young women.
Yeah.
Do you feel this? Like young women are like, just like talking. I bet Zegler in this like moment a year ago was being like borderline charming. Like maybe she was being funny or flippant or herself or personable or interesting or just like, and then we have to harp and torture these people, these actors, these performers because they don't like do it correctly. Like, and they're 22 years old. And then the question is like, what's doing it correctly even mean? It's just leave them alone.
I love that. That's a good opinion. I would slightly modify that. I would say I find Rachel Zegler to be a little corny and obnoxious.
I know you do.
And I love it. And I support it.
You're bad.
And I think she should have the right to be corny and obnoxious and not have it affect her career in any way. I think it makes her a more interesting celebrity. I support it. And I've got no problem with it.
All right, that's our opinion.
I think she's a very good actor, particularly in these like big
she's
properties.
in the mix for a reason. She's talented.
Yes. I think even in like direct, like that Hunger Games movie, she finds interesting moves. I think she's a talented, resourceful actor. I hope to see her in a lot more big movies. And I think none of this shit should affect her career prospects at all. I just find her a little obnoxious and smug sometimes. I'm sorry. She's a fucking movie star. Like, when did that stop being...
Keep the actors annoying and keep them smug.
Yes. When do we forget that that's the point?
Let Rachel just go on and on and on about whatever she wants.
Yeah.
She's going to be right 80% of the time.
Yeah.
All right. Enough of that.
Yeah, and I'm just saying like a little, like a good amount, honestly, like a good, solid amount.
We got a lot of shows.
We got a lot to talk about. Oh my God, we almost hit the 30-minute mark. We haven't even got past.
Are you serious?
No, not quite. 15, 20 minutes.
Here we go.
All right. Look, Joe, this week on Movies, baby, it's the big one. Oh my God, you can call it Glicked like the normies do, or you can call it Wickediator 2 like we do. I've never said that out loud until this moment. But whatever you call it, it happened. Wicked and Gladiator 2 came out this week. We saw them. We're going to give you the lowdown. Plus, we're reviewing Steve McQueen's Blitz. And we've got all the hot Hollywood news and box office updates that your little belly can hold, baby. And that's just in the first half of the show. In the second half, Joe, this is only for Patreon subscribers. Weekend at Bergman's is back. Our 1980s season rolls on with a very big showdown to kick off the holiday season, Joe.
Nothing says Thanksgiving like
Cruising versus Roadhouse, baby. 1980s Cruising versus 1989's Roadhouse on opposite sides of the decade.
Bookends.
Violence in bars. They were both distributed by United Artists. There's a
That's
lot
it.
of interesting parallels
That's
here.
it.
And this pairing was suggested by our good friend Colette. So shout out to Colette. This is a hell of a pairing. I loved rewatching these movies in conjunction for Weekend at Bergman's. We've got thoughts, but that's only for Patreon subscribers in the second half of the show. What do you say? Should we get this party started? Margo, why don't you roll that theme song? I can't get enough movies, baby. I can't get enough movies, baby, but how about you? Do you have it bad too? I know that you do, that's why you're here. Whenever one ends, it's like the death of a friend. I get to wishing that there were 2 more reels. And then a voice cries out, move, baby, you're in my seat, and you don't want to mess with who? The Philly movie freak. Eagles.
I can't get
There it
enough
is.
movies, baby. I can't get enough movies, baby. Oh, yes, it's true.
This mysterious stranger.
Oh, I've got it bad too. Every night of the year, like the moon, I appear at all the movie theaters all over town.
The Burbank 8, the Burbank 16,
Cut
the
to
Burbank
black.
20.
Roll credits.
Whoa, baby.
I'm lost in a fog. I need someone to talk to. Look, it's the Georgia movie dog. Dog.
I can't get enough movies,
I
baby.
can't get enough movies,
I
baby.
can't get enough movies, baby. Yeah!
Welcome to Movies, Baby, the weekly show where we break down the hottest movie news, review the latest releases, shout out forgotten classics, and prophesy the future of Hollywood. My name is Joe Cilio, a.k.a. the Philly Movie Freak, here as always with Brett Boehm, a.k.a. the Georgia Movie Dog.
Go Dogs! Joe, we're in the SEC championship, baby, against all odds. But if we lose the SEC championship, it could strangely knock us out of the playoffs.
Who you playing?
Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows
Who's
for sure.
you against?
That's the fun of it. We're playing the winner of Texas and Texas A&M this weekend.
Oh.
So we'll see either a rematch with Texas, who we beat on their home field, or Texas A&M.
But we're not here to talk about that.
No, we're here to talk about the movies, baby. And if there's one thing that I know for sure about the movies, it's that some of them make money and some don't. Margo, show me the money.
There are 2 kind of movies in this life.
Those that
That
make
make money and those that
don't.
Bonhoeffer.
Wow, here we let's talk Bonhoeffer. Pastor, it's like that Vince McMahon meme where he gets more excited with each word.
Yeah.
Pastor, spy, assassin.
That's really good.
No, we're here to talk about Wicked and Gladiator, baby. The biggest week at the box office so far this year, because we had not 1 hit, but 2 hits, baby. Not surprisingly, Wicked and Gladiator 2 took the top 2 spots in that order. Everyone saw it coming. It was just a matter of how much they were going to make. Let's start with Wicked. Wicked was projected to do 100 to 110 domestic opening weekend. We both said it would go over that. Saying we were thinking somewhere in the range of 120 to 130.
Well, I said in the theme song, we prophesy the future of Hollywood.
We do.
We nailed it.
It did go over. It didn't quite get into the 120 to 130 range, but it did go over. So we were
Went
right
over.
about that. I made 100. This number, Box Office Mojo, is actually a little bit off. The official number was 114 million when all was said and done. So I made 114 million opening weekend. That's the 3rd biggest domestic opening of the year, behind Deadpool and Wolverine, which did 211, which sounds insane in retrospect. Inside Out 2, 154. And then here's Wicked at number 3, right ahead of Beetlejuice at 111. So Wicked is a hit, a big hit. And this was crazy. Somehow even more impressive than opening weekend. Did you see what it did on Monday? Wicked did 16 million on Monday. Like Monday is the down day.
Right,
it's
right.
like the day nobody's going to the movies. Did 16 million, and that is not surprisingly the biggest November Monday ever for a movie in November.
That's awesome.
So
16.
So what
That's
I mean,
double like 90% of the movies. Of
so
the year,
people
right?
like are like rabid for Wicked is what that tells me. Like they're like you can't run them away with a broom. They're desperate. It's like a zombie attack, desperate to get into the movie theater. On a Monday, they're desperate. On a Monday, you couldn't get a seat to Wicked.
The good Wicked fans have been waiting almost 20 years for this movie, Brett. They've been promised it, and the day has finally come. You bet their boots they're showing up to the movies.
So let's talk about let's look at this historically and see how good was this very good opening. Well, number one, a fantastic opening for a big screen musical, basically record breaking. This is the largest opening weekend for a Broadway adaptation ever.
By a long shot.
Shattering Les Miserables. Les Miserables had the previous record at 27.2 million domestic opening weekend. They did very good globally, so they were 103 total opening weekend, which brings them a little bit closer to Wicked, but Wicked
just
still
domestically,
shattered that.
Wicked already beat them. Right?
Shattered that. It is the fourth biggest opening all time for a musical. And this is also where it's like, but are these really musicals? Because the other ones here are like all the live action Disneys.
Yeah.
Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, Frozen 2. It's fourth after those three. But like it's the largest Broadway musical. Yeah, it's the biggest Broadway musical ever to be, as a movie. This is also a incredible opening for a new adventure fantasy series, and it's not unusual to launch these in November around the Thanksgiving holiday. This is the same weekend that Harry Potter was launched. Was Sorcerer and the Stone came out. Frozen, Twilight,
Potter,
they all came out this same period.
right.
But amazingly, Wicked did better than the first Harry Potter, Frozen, and the first Twilight.
Damn, Daniel.
Harry Potter was 90 million, Frozen 93, Twilight 70.
Harry Potter 1 was only 90 million?
Was only 90 million. And look, at this point, that's 15 years ago, so adjust for
true.
inflation.
But still.
Wicked goes down in the record in the books as having a bigger opening than those three movies. It also proves what we all know and is common sense, but we now see it in practice, which is that female-centric audiences are just as valuable as male-centric audiences if you, make movies for that audience and then market them properly. But it's nice to see it in print, and everyone has to acknowledge it now until we forget it 2 weeks down the road. Now, the only downside for Wicked's release financially so far has been a kind of soft international opening relative to the domestic opening. So far, it's made like 50 million so far internationally, which is less than what Gladiator 2 has made internationally, even though Wicked had the bigger domestic opening. So I guess it's a property that just doesn't travel as well. Maybe that's, you'd think of, music being the universal language. I don't know.
Broadway is here.
Yeah.
What if that was like my analysis?
Well, Broadway's in New York.
America, so
yeah. But for whatever reason, kind of a soft worldwide opening so far. It hasn't opened in China yet.
Compared
That's in
to the biggest movies of all time.
Thank you. Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I get that you're right to contextualize, but compared to the biggest movies of all time, you're right, Wicked was a little soft overseas.
Just a little soft. That's really the only downside. Otherwise, just a smash hit that shows no. And we're not even into Thanksgiving yet,
dude. This will have
every fucking family in America is going to go to this movie this weekend.
Such a tale. Think of all the fans that are going to double see it, and then they're already on Christmas. They have
the sing-alongs,
sing-along screenings.
There's going to be a whole second wave.
This thing will be making money until the New Year's, New Year's. Like this thing is going to make a ton of money.
And will probably
$1 billion
get awards nominations, so people will keep seeing it through. It'll have a massive VOD release at some point.
So thank you for adding all this, because I just want to say, big old hit on Wicked.
And the question now is, how high can it go? How high can these numbers go?
Over $1 billion.
You say over $1 billion, so it'd be the third $1 billion movie of the year.
I guess I'm being a little aggressive because it was $200 million global opening?
It's up to 178 million globally going into its second weekend. 178 million first weekend.
Maybe I'm being aggressive,
week.
but I don't want to. I maybe 800 million. The tail's going to be
Yeah.
nice and long and healthy.
The thing in its favor for $1 billion. I mean, $1 billion is hard. It's very hard.
That's high, especially with the trajectory won't work out.
But because it's going to have these sort of waves of interest with this. I mean, the only thing about the sing-along screenings is it's like 400 theaters.
No. Listen. I overstated the case, but still, it's going to be around 700, 800 million, and that's part one. And
that's what I think is 700,
that's
800.
fucking great.
I think a very good outcome for Wicked is top 5 for the year. I think that's doable. Assuming that Moana 2 is also going to crack the top 5, which it probably will.
That's what my little birds are telling me.
That's what I'm hearing. It's going to have to beat Dune, so it's going to have to get up to about 715 million. So it's got a long way to go. But
around there.
You think if it does 750, 800, it should be in the top 5 for the end of the year, which would be amazing for a Broadway musical adaptation and a property that people are like. I'm also like, is everyone this familiar with Wicked, or like they just know the poster? Like it's like I don't think it's a property that people are like overly familiar with.
Well, you were never a 15-year-old girl when it came out.
But true, but also you have to like, it's not like you can read the book, but like we're talking about the musical, right? So
I'm talking about the musical.
Twilight, Harry Potter, you just go down to Barnes and Noble, get the book.
Yeah.
Like Wicked, it has to become a new
to go to
town.
Broadway,
You have to buy $70 tickets. You have to be able to afford whatever $150 tickets. You have to go. So it's just like, I feel like for a lot of people, and maybe this contributed to its success, it might have been a thing that you were sort of familiar with, but had never seen in its like full glory before. I had never seen it in its full glory.
Me, theater boy,
right?
I never saw Wicked.
I think that's part of its success. Is that people sort of like Defying Gravity,
popular.
Maybe Idina Menzel,
You just know Kristen Chenoweth
were in it.
They were in it.
You know that poster, the famous poster. You know
There's
the plot,
a dragon at the end,
but you haven't seen the thing in its like full
Never
glory
seen it.
yet. Yeah,
that's us though.
Well, I think I just think it's a lot of people just because musicals are not immediately accessible in the way that a book is. Let's talk about Gladiator 2. Gladiator 2 was projected to do 65 million domestic opening weekend. Joe, I think you were like comfortable with that projection.
Definitely.
Particularly because of the record-breaking international opening that it had the previous weekend.
Yeah, I was high on
now,
this one.
I said it was going to go a little under.
Well,
I said the projections were a little high.
You win.
And wouldn't you know it, I was right on this one.
Suppose you were.
I was right on this one because it made 55 million opening weekend, which is a little under projections. But first, the good news. The good news is, when you look at it comparatively, it did very well. If you compare it to other recent R-rated action movies, it's falling behind the comic book, sort of the R-rated comic book movies, Deadpool, the Deadpool trilogy, Logan, but it's comparable to movies like Bad Boys, the John Wicks in terms of this opening. So being comparable to Bad Boys and John Wick is a pretty good position to be in for a legacy sequel that came out, 24 years for a movie that came out 24 years ago. And then compared to other legacy sequels, this is, if it stays on this track, it'll join the sort of top tier of successful legacy sequels: Top Gun Maverick, Wonka, Beetlejuice, Twisters. It's on track to be considered in that class, I think, and not in the class of The Crow and these sort of bombed legacy sequels. And it's interesting because I don't know what, the marketing's better. The look of the movie is better. They got a lot of the original people back. I wonder if that is.
What are you wondering?
What separates the bottom tier of like what separates The Crow from successful legacy sequels like Gladiator, Top Gun Maverick, Beetlejuice? It seems like a lot of it has to do with getting the original, like maintaining something about the original.
It's a question worth wondering about. Gladiator came out 25 years ago.
Yeah.
It wasn't based on anything, and there hasn't been any IP derived from Gladiator. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a thing or two, but like nothing really for real for 25 years. And for them to come back and to make this much money out of the gate and to greenlight it at that preposterous price point. Yeah. So the problem with Gladiator is it costs $250 million. Yeah. That's the problem.
That's the bad news.
But,
so let's get to the bad news, which is it is, just to put a cap on the good news, it basically did the same numbers that the first Gladiator did opening weekend.
But blah, blah, blah. I think it just speaks to
yeah.
how popular the original movie was.
Yeah.
How it's like, I rewatched Gladiator this week. It's fucking awesome.
So good.
Like, it's so good, it never disappoints.
And it was a phenomenon when it came out.
It was a phenomenon. It won Best Picture.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And the new one has like Denzel Washington in it, and it's perfect counter programming to Wicked.
Yep.
And this fit right into the pre-Thanksgiving James Bond slot, just like Wicked fit into the Harry Potter slot.
Yep.
Perfect.
So because of its, I mean, it opened internationally a week earlier, so it has an advantage there. But because it had a bigger international opening, it's actually has a higher box office total than Wicked right now. I mean, that'll change after this weekend probably, but it's at 226 million total right now. But the bad news, let's get to, is what you mentioned, is that's off of a $250 million budget. So it basically has to double where it's at now to see profit. It will, but how much profit? How much of a success will it be with that kind of a budget? How much of a success can you be with that kind of a budget?
Stop doing the budget like that. Why was it so high?
I don't know.
Like, the movie looks great and is awesome and fun, and like it's a fun time at the movies, and I really enjoyed it. Like, just do it for fucking 180. Why 250?
Yeah.
What'd you get? What'd you do?
Is so high.
It's impossible.
Well, and you think 250 was high on Gladiator? You were pointing out that that's the same amount of money that was spent on Red 1.
Well, yeah. But Red 1 they can just go, hey, well, we're a streamer. This is how we finance movies. They're way more expensive up front.
Yeah.
What's the fucking excuse on Gladiator 2?
It's hard to know. I mean,
like,
I bet those, you know what? I bet
really,
those, not just CGI, I bet those CGI animals were fucking expensive.
So
expensive.
Ridley pulls. Like, Ridley is a great, like, popcorn director, aka like big box office director, has big hits, and people still like going to see Ridley Scott movies. Like, I think that brand still has, like, I'm not saying it's why it made so much money, but that counts for something. Gladiator counts for something. I just can't imagine after some of the flops, like one of my favorite movies, Alien Covenant and stuff like that, that you give Ridley $250 to take a swing at Gladiator 2, a movie that came out 25 years ago and has had nothing in the middle of it.
Yeah,
I really got to understand that better.
They because they've also been trying. He wanted to turn around a sequel like right away in like 2002, 2003, and just like whatever, development hell, script problems, casting problems, this and that, not knowing sort of what to do with the sequel. And then Paramount eventually, I think, inherited the rights to Gladiator, and then they greenlit the sequel. I don't know why they greenlit such a massive budget.
Well, that's why they went out of business, and
I guess that's why they got bought by David Ellison and Larry Ellison. Yeah. But I mean, look, it'll I think it'll sneak into profit, but it's like it could have been so much more profit.
Maybe they would just be like, because we think this was going to be $1 billion movie.
Yeah.
You know, maybe like because Gladiator's fucking huge.
Yeah.
And also remember, every studio needs its tentpole IP more than ever. So these Sonys, these Paramounts, the people that have like not the canonical, not the Star Wars, not the Marvel, they're like, okay, look at our slate. What can we turn into? Like, oh, let's make a wicked ass Gladiator and get the biggest young star in the world, and we'll get Denzel Washington, get Ridley back, and we'll make a huge theater spectacle, and we'll reignite the love for Gladiator. You know, good idea. You have to take care of your IP, and they did take care of it, and it looked beautiful, and I'm glad you give a lot of money for great movies, and Ridley Scott should deserve that kind of money. I'm just surprised based on everything.
I was right. It was the fucking rhinos. The rhino was so expensive. So the CGI rhino, cool. It was very cool. So it was originally greenlit with a budget of, like you said, $165 million, and then it just ballooned during production because Ridley wanted all these things. Why does Ridley have like,
he's on a
check at this
big
point?
Horse.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah. I don't know how he got the budget from 165 to 250.
Maybe this is what we talk about this. Like, Warner Brothers has to make Netflix has to make Greta Gerwig happy. Warner Brothers has to make Todd Phillips happy. Yeah. Paramount has to make Ridley Scott happy.
Yeah.
Alien Romulus made a ton of money. Fox gave Ridley like the green light for another Ridley one, even though those lost money twice. I don't know.
It did get 47 million euros back from Malta in tax rebates.
Well, see, there's probably some stuff we don't understand.
There's a lot of stuff
there's
we don't
nuances
know about
here. All right,
but let's talk about this upcoming weekend, because if you thought last weekend was big,
I did.
You just added a new superstar to the mix, because Wicked's coming into weekend 2 strong. Gladiator 2's coming into weekend 2 strong, and then you're adding Moana 2 to the mix. The original Moana, the most watched movie on Disney Plus for the last 5 years, and we're getting a sequel, and this thing is already setting records in previews. Look at this. We knew it was going to be big. Right now it's projected 130 to 150 over the 5-day holiday weekend. and it's already setting records in its previews. It did 13.8 million in preview screenings on Tuesday, which is the biggest preview ever for a Disney movie, and the second best preview ever for an animated movie. It must have been like a Despicable Me movie is number one if it's not Disney.
Oh, it was number two. They really fucking botched that one.
Yeah. And then if you compare to Inside Out 2, which is up to like 1.7 billion, is the biggest movie of the year. Inside Out 2 only did 13 million in previews. Moana 2 is doing bigger previews than Inside Out 2. Could it hit 1? There's no way. There's no way it does like 1.7 billion. That was just because
not 1.7, but all it needs to do is 1.1 for Bob.
It'll do a billion.
It's going to do a bill.
So it'll be. I think
and
this will be
all comes down to Mustafa for Bob Iger. Can he have $4 billion earners in 2024
before what looks like maybe a stinky year next year?
That's
so
right.
He's really got to pack him in this year.
He has packed them in this year.
He has. No, Disney will end the year with the top 3 movies at the box office, which I got to go back and look. I do not know the last time that's happened. That one studio had the top 3 movies.
That's insane.
It just like the numbers, like just the statistics never favor it because everything is sort of a mess and no one knows what's going to hit. And so for one studio to have the top 3 movies, it would be crazy. But it looks like that's what's going to happen with Inside Out 2, Deadpool and Wolverine, and assuming Moana 2 gets up to the 3rd slot, probably.
Listen to these fun little facts about Disney's fiscal year and sort of why Bob Iger is taking a victory lap now instead of Q1 of next year. The movie division at Disney this fiscal year made $316 million of profit. So after Inside Out 2 and Deadpool and Wolverine, fiscal year Q3 to Q3, they made $316 million.
And this is also like,
profit.
Sometimes movie studios don't want to tell you, like they don't want to show that much profit. So that's like, that is so much.
That's profit.
So much profit. Yeah.
But Bob moved Elio, Pixar,
right,
Snow White, Disney live action, and Captain America New World Order, Marvel, 3 problem children projects. He bumped them all to Q1.
Somebody else's problem. Because is Iger going to be gone by that point? When's Iger's replacement coming in?
Soon, you're right.
Okay, so that's going to be somebody else's problem.
But more importantly, he wasn't going to mess up this. Do you know that, we mentioned this on the podcast, Disney Plus created a quarterly profit of $134 million. No, that was the fiscal year, 2024. They had $134 million of profit on Disney Plus. Wow. In 2023, Brett, fiscal year, they lost $2.6 billion on Disney Plus. So from one year they went minus 2.6 billion to $134 million in profit.
Is that in production costs on streaming only content, or where's the loss coming in?
They spent $2.61 billion more on content for the platform than they earned from subscriptions.
Because that's back when they were like really making a push for Disney Plus.
That's when it was like,
and they moved away from
let's make
releases.
7 million things for Disney Plus. And now, because of the way they bundle Hulu and now they get the show $134 million streaming profit.
Wow.
And $316 million profit. And then in the Q3 earnings call for Disney, they also laid out based off this good news, a 3-year plan that really boosted investor confidence and pushed the share price up. And they showed, you don't have to show a 3-year plan at a quarterly review. They showed it because Bob saw exactly what he had created. He bumped all the dog shit to Q1 2025. It's for the next fucker's
Somebody
problem.
else's problem, yeah.
He pulled a fucking Nick Saban.
He pulled a Nick Saban.
He fixed Disney Plus, even though we can talk about the $11 billion debt that streaming platform is still in. They'll recoup it in a couple of years, but still. And it's just amazing how it all, I love the studio. I love why things happen.
Yeah.
And I love seeing the way that they want to present money. And thank you for letting me mention all that. So all that's to say is that's why these problem children got kicked. They're going to get kicked, like Brett said, to Disney's Iger successor. And he or she will have to deal with that in the Q1 earnings.
This is why they're not talking. This explains the Snow White thing. This is why they're not talking about it, because it's
not Bob's problem.
Iger doesn't want anyone to piss on his parade right now. He's about to put together one of the all-time great years for a studio in movie history.
He's going to have $4 billion earners, maybe
3, definitely
3. Mustafa looks like the biggest piece of shit I've ever seen in my life. So I don't know about that.
Definitely 3, but like
Mustafa looks miserable.
Have any of the live-action Disney movies looked good, and they still make money? Like it's just the.
I've seen seen.
Got the
I saw,
fire
I saw
hose.
Beauty and the Beast because I wanted to see the exclusively queer moment.
Yes.
Remember the exclusively gay moment?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I forget. It wasn't impactful.
No, it's like that.
That was the best.
That became like a
That was the best.
season-long plot line
That
of
was
the other two. It
so
was-
fun.
yeah, it was
that
such
was
a
so
mess.
funny on
Yeah.
the other two when they
Yeah.
did all that. Anyway, little studio finance.
Wow. So Iger. So that really does explain Snow White, because they're like, look, don't even mention. We're just going to sneak the trailer in before Wicked. They don't give it. People online can say whatever they want. We're not going to acknowledge it because we are in the midst of just a one win after another. Anything that has to do with Snow White, we're pushing the next year. It's going to be my successor's problem. I'm just going to leave them all the dog shit.
That's
and I'm going to
fine.
ride off with my golden parachute, baby.
That's fine. He left. Chapek cratered it, and in 2 years, via the miracle of I understand studio financing and the way that you can craft narratives with numbers.
Also having
Iger righted the ship in a lot of ways.
Okay. Also, just a big asterisk here. He has, bar none, the just easiest library of IP to make money off of in Hollywood history. I mean, like Disney's acquisitions at this point. How do you not? How does every year
He bought them.
How does every year? I know, but I'm just saying. You know, like. He's not like, he doesn't have to like think of ideas.
No.
He just has to do the library.
Actually, one of the reasons Disney streaming was able to scale and become one of the profitable isn't because Disney's traditionally just a very well-run company overall.
Yeah.
It's because the Disney brand is the only brand really synonymous with their content. My mom knows who made The Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
Disney made The Little Mermaid.
Right.
But when my
You don't
mom
know that
does not
Alien
know
is
who
Fox.
made Blitz.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where's Blitz? Oh, what is Blitz? Where is
Yeah.
Blitz? Good fucking luck. It's on Apple Plus. I loved it. But
We'll get to that
do you know
later.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's a Disney's. You're right. Disney has an easier job because they actually have seriously valuable brand recognition aligned with their owned IP, not just the fact that they own it. So they get the credit. It's easy on the consumer. Boom.
Their job is always just to like not fuck up. Like they like it's there. You don't have to scrounge and kick in the dirt and find some hidden gem that no one knows about. Your job is just to not fuck up the world's most like fail-safe IP.
Well, honey, look,
over and over and over.
They
again.
put out an annual live action. They put out a Pixar. They put out a Marvel. They got it. They got it. Buy. That's my mad money on Disney. Buy.
Actually, don't sell because
Sell
they're about
because-
to crater next year when Iger hands off the shit
reins.
parade to the next person.
No, it'll all be good.
Nah, they'll figure it out.
He righted the ship on streaming and made that a business that's
Well,
worth
good for
pursuing.
him.
That's actually fucking. I mean, look. I'm giving him all the credit. I know it takes a fucking village to do any of this shit, but you know, the streaming turnaround actually is kind of amazing.
Now, before we get off box office, I want to get some projections for Thanksgiving weekend because this weekend has the potential to set two records. Number one, Moana 2 has the chance to be the biggest Thanksgiving weekend opening of all time. It has to beat out Frozen 2, which made $125 million in 2019. You think it beats? Do you think it goes over 125?
Yeah.
I agree. I think it beats out Frozen 2, and I think we have a new champ for Thanksgiving weekend. Now, if Wicked and Gladiator stay the course as well, we could have our biggest overall Thanksgiving weekend of all time, which right now is 2018. Listen to this classic slate. 2018, we had Ralph Breaks the Internet, Creed 2, and Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. Somehow those three movies collectively, plus whatever else was in theaters, garnered $315 million.
Pre-COVID movies.
That's
incredible.
right. So if it goes, I don't know if we can go over 315. So if Moana does
150.
I mean that's
You can't.
max.
They can't beat that weekend.
That's max.
That's going to be really hard.
I think Moana does like 130. So if Moana 2 does 130, Wicked does what, like 70?
Yeah.
That's 200.
Nah,
Gladiator does
no,
40. Well, I don't know if
no,
it gets to 315.
Was that domestic? 315?
How did it do
that's not
that?
getting there.
How did that do that?
I don't
It
know.
really was pre-COVID. It
Yeah.
was just, wow. Well, look what Ralph Breaks the Internet, Creed 2, and Fantastic Beasts could accomplish pre-COVID.
Jeez.
315 million. So our projection is Moana 2 beats Frozen 2, becomes the biggest Thanksgiving weekend opening of all time, but that in total the weekend is not going to become the biggest weekend of all time because Jesus, how could you? That's like looking at like Jerry Rice's like records where you're like, oh, no one will ever like how no, that's not even possible. There's just not enough games to get there.
Not going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen. So, good news though for the year because It's been a real roller coaster ride in the box office this year. And I think by our last episode of the year, I want to do like a big box office recap of the year. What did we learn? What were the big takeaways? But for now, the roller coaster ride continues. Strong summer. Huge downturn in October because Joker 2 bombed so hard. But now we're on the verge of one of the biggest Thanksgiving weekends ever. So the ride continues, baby. And it looks like it's going to be a similarly rocky December with some big movies and some stinkers. And speaking of that, let's get into movie news. I got a couple items for you this week, Joe. The headline I want to talk about is comic book movies continue to be in this weird, awkward kind of transitional phase where they don't have nearly the dominance that they've had for the last 15 years. I mean, it's been the most reliable box office genre easily for the last 15 years, thanks mainly to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but of course DC having some big ones in there as well. But it's going through this kind of awkward transition phase as it waits for these new Avengers movies to come together, but there's a lot of problems with those as it waits for the new Spider-Man movies to come out. It's trying to find some other IP that it can sort of build into some franchises, but it's really struggling to do that. And sure, Deadpool and Wolverine crushed, but that seems to be the exception that proves the rule this year, because 2024 is set to be the first year since 2015, as we've said before, that only one comic book movie cracks the top 10 box office. It's probably just going to be Deadpool and Wolverine, because I want to talk about the tortured story real quick of Kraven the Hunter. I don't think Kraven the Hunter is making the top 10 this year. This movie is set to come out in December, and it is part of Sony's extended Spider-Man universe. So that's like the 3 Venom movies, Morbius, Madam Web, and now Kraven the Hunter.
That is a lineup,
right?
That is a lineup.
That's a wacky, fun lineup.
That's funny.
Why aren't they doing better? I love that wacky lineup.
Me too.
Well, look, here's the deal with Kraven. It's a character that I don't think a lot of people are familiar with.
I thought it was a joke. I never heard of this.
It only has a $130 million budget. That's nice. That's still too much.
It's a lot.
That's
should have been
I guess
88.
yeah, no, it is a lot.
How about 80?
It only sounds
For
good
Kraven
compared to Gladiator 2, but that's still a lot of money. Yeah.
I mean, look,
that should have been 60 to 70
what do
maybe.
I know? What do I know?
It's got Aaron Taylor Johnson in it, who's always sort of on the verge of kind of breaking out.
Well said. An eternal up-and-comer.
It's got Russell Crowe in it. Okay, that's fun.
Big old Russell.
It's got a great director, J.C. Shandor, who made Margin Call and A Most Violent Year, movies that we love.
It's good pedigree, Brett.
It's also R-rated and ultra-violent. I saw a Red Band trailer before Gladiator 2, and it was like gross. It was like so violent.
What's Kraven's thing? Does he bite?
He's
got a big knife.
He's a hunter. He's like an old school hunter. So it's spears, knives. Like, yeah, he can like arrows. There's a lot of throat slashing, heads getting cut off, arms getting cut off. And so, look, it worked pretty well for Deadpool. They're thinking maybe it'll work well for us.
Deadpool's funny.
Here's the bad news, though. How dare you? Here's the bad news. We run a comedy company. We gotta.
Well, Deadpool's a funny guy.
We have to cut that.
I'm just kidding, Brett.
The bad news is that Kraven has been delayed. This movie, guess when this movie was supposed to come out? January 2023. I almost said 2013. January 2023.
You really kneecapped yourself there.
I did.
Because I was like, well, 2013.
No, sorry, 2023.
Last year.
Yeah, it would have sounded better if I didn't imply it was 2013.
Okay, so they bumped it a year.
January 20. Well, almost 2 years.
Okay.
January, then it got bumped to October 2023, and now it's coming out. And then it was August 2024, and now it's December 2024. It's that old problem that killed Snow White, or is killing Snow White. Reshoots. They kept having bad test screenings, and then they had to go do reshoots, and then they had another bad test screening, and then they had to do more reshoots. But there's a new strategy from the a Kraven front, because come hell or high water, this thing's coming out in December, and they got to try to make as much of that $130 million back as possible. So the new strategy is what I would call a Jeb Bush please clap strategy, which is that this week J.C. Shandor told comicbook.com, that illustrious outlet, he told them, people have got to give us a chance and come out and support this film and literally try to wash away some of the other stuff that's happened. I guess he means all the reshoots and all that stuff. He said, give our film a chance. Give our $130 million comic book movie a chance.
I'm going to give it a chance. I have to for the podcast.
So they're basically, the strategy now is like, hey, good news. This incredibly red flaggy sort of production process that where we delayed the movie 4 times and spent all this money on reshoots, it actually yielded some pretty good results in the end, and we're really excited for you to see this movie. Good news, everybody. The process worked.
Okay.
That's the message right now that Sony and JC Shandor are putting out there.
Yeah, not a humongous vote of confidence. I think my only analysis here is just to let you and the listeners know I was in the room in Hanover, New Hampshire in 2015.
That's right, you were.
Or 2016 when Jeb Bush said please clap, not because I was supporting Jeb Bush in Hanover outside of Dartmouth, but because I was writing an article for Boston.
That's like being on the grassy knoll when Kennedy got shot. You were in the room. You were there for American history.
I was 30 feet away from him.
From Jeb Bush when he turned to the audience after an applause line.
When he says, please clap.
What was the applause line?
The room. Something about just like broad shrew. I forget.
Yeah.
Something like, we're going to protect the country or something like that.
And everyone's like,
please clap. And he was like,
oh, please clap. Yeah.
In the room, it felt like it did to y'all online.
Wow.
It landed with a big fat thud and a lot of turned heads. It was an awkward, funny moment.
It was because of his tone was so exasperated. His tone was the tone of a defeated man.
And he lost the election then famously to Donald Trump.
Please clap for me.
Yeah, I was there. Last
thing I'll say about Craven is this amazing quote from producer Matt Tolmach from Sony. And this is with Collider. And he said that the film was given its new December release date because Sony wants to accommodate all the audiences they believe will be clamoring to watch the film, quote, over and over again during the holiday break. That is honestly,
I love it.
A+ spin.
That's beautiful.
Give Matt Tolmach a raise over there at Sony.
That was a good one.
That's
Matt.
great.
That's really work great. Here. That was a good one.
That's good stuff.
I love that.
Craven really quickly isn't the only comic book movie in trouble. This new Captain America movie, which has been such a reliable franchise for Marvel, this new Captain America movie, Brave New World, in which Anthony Mackie is taking over as Captain America from the just tragically uncharismatic Chris Evans. So a big upgrade in my book. I honestly, I like the trailer to this movie. It looks like they're doing like a 70s paranoia, Alan J. Pakula style thing. I kind of was down for
enough with the fucking Captain America is like all these good movies. It isn't.
Well, I mean, it's coming out. It might as well be good because we have to see it. So I was kind of excited that I watched the trailer and I was like, I could sit through that.
Ugh.
But I don't know if I'll be able to sit through it because this thing, speaking of the theme of the evening, a third round of test screenings apparently went bad, and they're doing more reshoots on this thing.
I don't know.
What is happening?
I don't know.
This is just like 50 random people at an AMC in Santa Monica said it was what's going on here? Like, hey, do you guys think the movie's bad?
That's what I always wonder. It's like, okay, for these movies, not only do you have not only is there IP already, it already is a book, and it's already a book made out of pictures. Okay, so you already have like a pretty confident sort of something to map onto, right? And then it's like, then you have all the money in the world to hire the most talented people forever until everybody gets it right in the pre-production process. I don't understand. Like, I'm sure Kevin Feige could come in and really school me on this one. I just don't understand how these movies with these budgets, with these studios, with the infrastructure, despite all of the changes and all of the this and that's, how they don't solve a lot of these issues in pre-production. So many issues that they had to have 3 reshoots on the Captain Marvel movie based on the fucking book. I don't understand. You have all the money in the world to make sure that it's really good, so you only have 2 fuck-ups.
Yes.
Third time fuck-up? How bad's the movie? Who are you hiring? Can we do it? I'm sure we could put it together a little bit better to not have 3 fuck-ups in a row. Harrison Ford's in the movie. The Hulk's in the movie. It's about Washington, D.C. blows up. How bad could it fucking be? Also, how good could it be? How do you guys know when it's good and when it's bad? What are Marvel movies?
Because that's the other problem is now you're like, well, how good could you possibly make this? Because every reshoot adds to the budget. This budget, get ready for this. This budget is rumored to be nearing $400 million, and this thing is scheduled for a Valentine's Day release. So now you are in this the murky waters of the test screenings aren't going great. You guys don't know what the movie is anymore. The budget is ballooning. It has to come out in February at some point. Because look, we've always heard in Hollywood history, we always heard, they've always done test screenings, and the studio has always put too much, emphasis on the test screenings and this and that. But there was always the other side of the story where the director or the producer would say, fuck you, I'm not changing a fucking frame. And then would like sneak into Warner Brothers in the middle of the night and steal the originals.
Or the genius team took the note and had an amazing creative solve.
Yeah, right.
Where's that?
Right. Where's that?
I like taking notes from the audience. Just like, how do you unimpress a Marvel audience 3 times? How hard could that possibly be?
Because I'm not pretending that test screenings are some new thing. What I do think is new is these like massive creative bureaucracies that have no center and no compass and don't know what they want the movie to be. Because at some point, you have to decide what the movie is, what is good about it, and you just have to believe in that. And even if you don't get that, even if you have a test screening and nobody got it, you have to believe that the movie's better than the test screening. It will find its audience. Because also, how many stories have you heard like that about a movie that had a shitty test screening and then fucking blew up? All right? There is no...
But don't forget, Brett, maybe the audience was right 3 times.
Or maybe,
and these fuckers made a bloated, boring stinker.
Cut losses and release the movie. Because now you're really fucked. Now you're really fucked.
Honestly, that's kind of it. It's like, the first time it was bad... Okay, let's try to change it. You spent money to you can't change bad from the jump. So now just pretend it's good, release it like you always do.
Yeah, hire this Sony producer who just
he's great. He'll be like, it's fucking great. I love it. It's 4.5 hours long. It stinks. You can't hear it.
The budget's only $400 million. That's a steal. I've seen this thing, and it is
Captain America 5 cost $400 million. You know what's so funny? It's like vacuum of leadership. All we did was just proselytize about the leadership over at Disney and like and how they righted the ship. But like you were saying, like, because they swept all the bullshit under the rug onto the next guy or gal. I don't know what to say, Brett, other than comic book movies have been going through a bit of a moment, but the reports of comic book movies' death are far overstated. They'll be back. They'll be fine. Once
there's a little bit,
it'll be fine.
But it really is. I mean, I was sure 2 years ago they were too big to fail. Now it's like they're really pushing it on. Like, are they too big to fail?
We're not. No, we're not. Well, how about this? They're not too big to fail, but we're not done with universes yet as a studio. Distribution
but here is the problem that's not going away, which is what you said, which is a lack of leadership and vision. Whereas like every one of their movies now is in this position. The fucking Avengers movie is in this position of rewrites and rehires and reshoots. They do not seem to know what kind of movies they want to make anymore, and that seems to be the problem. And then there's this problem where the fan community is like devouring them whole. The fan community that built them up, now they can't like satisfy them enough, or they're not sort of, the movies are not, I don't know, up to their standards or whatever. And so now that's a problem because they have to keep the fan groups happy. So it's like the whole enterprise is eating itself, and there's no one in the middle of it all to say, you know what? Fuck all y'all. I believe in this movie. It's good, and we're putting it out.
It costs $345 million, and we're putting it out. I'm like, okay, that's it.
But it would only cost $200 if someone knew what they were doing from the beginning.
I know that reviews matter in box office. Like Wicked got good reviews and Wicked did great. Gladiator 2 got great reviews and did great. And we want to write them off, but having positive reviews really does matter to really does matter for box office success. So I get that that's the impulse to make sure that the Captain America 17 is like good, so that that's part of it. But you can't just go into $400 million on the 5th Captain America movie during the doldrums of the Marvel Phase 7.
No,
this is just silly. I don't get it.
It's also hubris because they have such lofty. I think they have such lofty conceptions of their own movies that like now everything has to rise to the level of what it has to rise to the level of like a MCU movie. We have to plug it in with the greats into the constellation.
Those can cost $225
into the firmament.
Next.
Last, before we get into the movie reviews, is a little shout out and a recommendation, Joe. Metrograph, a really great, relatively new New York art house theater, started in 2016.
All the New York kids are chuckling at you right now. Like, yeah, what do they know about Metrograph? We've been a million times.
It started in 2016 though. It's not like a the Angelica.
It's true, but it was like instantly one of the it was like instantly beloved.
Immediately. Oh, because you were still living in New York in 2016. Yeah. Okay.
Metrograph's awesome. You would love it. It's like
awesome,
pretentious as fuck. There's a gorgeous bar and restaurant on the 2nd floor. All the candy is like bougie nonsense. You would really get off to it.
Hell yeah. Okay, cool. I mean, that's not really my personality.
You'd have fun though.
Okay.
But it's like a handsome theater night out in New York. Trendy. I know
Sounds
it's
pretentious.
not your thing,
Yeah,
but
sounds
how
silly.
about this?
Yeah.
It's not your thing. I'll drag you along.
Okay, cool.
Lucky for
I
you.
like going to the
lucky
movies.
for you, I'll drag you along.
I like going to the movies.
That's what I'm saying. You're gonna love it.
Are they going to be weird to me like every employee is at every art house theater in this country of ours? What's going on? We need to have a conversation about the way employees at art house theaters act. And I'm just like, I'm not the fucking king of England, but I do need you to treat me like a human being who's had a conversation before.
Shout out to this point
Okay.
to the staff at the AMC City Walk who have been nothing but generous, kind, and thoughtful to me all year long.
Meanwhile, I try to order
I love those guys.
medium popcorn at the New Beverly, and they like
Oh, she's
whisper,
mad. I know.
They like whisper. I'm like, what are you guys whispering? Like, did I do something wrong?
No, I know the woman behind.
Did I make a faux pas?
I like come out like small popcorn, please. Like
Yeah.
Mr. Just like the eye roll, like
Yeah.
the Gen Z heavy hand scoop.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
It's like then die of hunger and don't work. Like why? Why are you so miserable? I know work is not as good as the times you're not at work. Just make it. Just try to live through it with your friend positively, like make a friend
Yeah.
or make it a game. You have to go to work because you have to make money because you have to eat food. So let's just not make it miserable. Smile. And if you're in customer service jobs, at least pretend. How about this? Pretend to not be miserable at work, even if you are, unless you're really miserable.
We all
then-
pretend all day.
That's all.
That's
That's
we
all work
do
is
all the time.
Work is just pretending that you're not mad. You're not at home.
And also, like New Beverly, you gotta go easy. Like this is like if anyone in this theater makes a single sound once the movie starts,
I
we're gonna
I
drag you out by your fucking
I
hair.
disagree with you with
We're
my
drag you
whole
out by your
heart.
fucking hair. Meanwhile, this is a long overdue basement take for me.
You've done this 7 times.
No, I haven't. Meanwhile, you read Quentin Tarantino, the guy who owns the theater. You read Cinema Speculation,
Love
and
that
what
book.
are all his favorite memories of the movie theater? When he would go as a kid and yell at the screen, everyone would be sort of hooting and hollering together and have a grand old time, right? And now you go to his movie theater, and it's
not
the
true.
fucking Library of Congress.
That's not true. It's not about being quiet during the movie. It's about the phones. Their thing is about the phones.
No.
People talk during the
I'm
movies all the
fine.
time. Clapping. Oh, Fauci. Not Fauci. Fulci. Oh, Lucio Fulci made the. Oh, and then people like talk and yammer during the movies. They do.
No,
they do.
Joe.
They do.
No, Joe. They do. If you make a fucking peep, they come at you with they have like hallway monitors that come down the.
You are overstating it. That is not true. I go all the time.
Joe?
False.
Joe, my wife Amy can back me up on this. We went to a midnight screening of Society.
Look, I'm not going to fight.
We
Amy.
went to
I'm fighting you.
We went
right now.
to
Don't drag her.
We went to
into
a
this.
midnight screen. I'm just saying she can vouch for me on this. We went to a midnight screening of Society, and they literally told us before the movie, it's all right to audibly react to the movie. Just please try to keep your audible reactions like at a reasonable level. It's Society. It's a fucking like camp body horror.
Listen, I know exactly the guy you're talking about. He says that canned line at the end of every single welcome speech, and the line that he says is
Stop
something along the
scolding
line.
me.
It's not a scold. Also,
Stop like preemptively scolding me.
once a month they play cartoons at 10 a.m. on the screen like Looney Tunes, and I take Enzo sometimes to go see them. And in the middle of between the two cartoons, it was like everyone clapped, and then it was quiet. And then Enzo in the silent movie theater goes, "Another one," really loud, and everyone was like, it was awesome.
All right, well that's adorable.
Well, that was all. Yeah,
Yeah, but a couple employees were steaming.
No,
Like, if that kid says one more word,
dude. Every time
because Enzo was smart, he just got it out real fast before they could say anything.
another one.
Yeah,
At Cartoon Club, it's like they play the Looney Tunes, and it's mostly dads and moms and children and stuff. But there is like 30% where it's like yous and me's, and like their buddies like, I really care about Chuck Jones, and I really like William Hanna-Barbera, and I really want to see the art of the losers.
I can't go to the.
Just a bunch of fucking adults at 10 a.m. just like all high, like watching cartoons. The guy's like, just go home, loser. This is for fucking children, obviously.
I cannot go to them anymore. It literally says kiddie matinee.
Yeah, fuck off.
And
You get
half
a
of the
free
crowd,
kiddie popcorn.
half of the crowd is fucking Silver Lake sitting there with their. You're absolutely right. It's like, come on, guys.
We're cursing and screaming a lot this episode.
You really got to see Charlotte's Web, or you're gonna fucking what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen?
Honest to God.
I know this wasn't an easy parking situation for you. Just stay.
Oh, nice. They're doing Duck Rogers. Fuck you. Duck Dodgers.
Sandy's favorite saying right now is when we tell him he can't have something, or not right now, or that, he just goes, another day.
See, that's the
Another day.
See, that's my kind of guy.
I love it. I love it.
It's
You know?
another
You
day.
gotta resign
That's a
yourself.
good attitude.
You gotta resign yourself to life's frustrations
You
early.
can't always get what you
You
want.
can't always get what you want.
Another day.
All right, let's I didn't even talk about the freaking Metrograph thing.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so
Clint Eastwood
great theater, relatively new, whatever, 2016. So they are it came out this week that they are launching a new print magazine called the Metrograph. And obviously my first thought was, yikes, print magazine. Good luck with that. But then
what happened?
That's also your reaction. Joe's really on one today. Trying to alter the
vibe.
The vibe.
I am so tired and so close to being sick, and I was up all.
I'm sorry.
I was up pulling all nighters.
Now,
sorry, I'm so aggressive.
But no, this magazine is the shit, and you should all buy it because tons of great stuff in this first issue. But one thing they got, an absolute coup, is they got a career-spanning long-form interview with Clint Eastwood, which this guy does not do press. This might be like his last will and testament. Like this is going to be his last like public statement is going to be, and they do a whole career spanning thing. Apparently they asked him about Juror Number 2, all the Warner Brothers stuff. And the interview is by Nick Pinkerton, who actually is a screenwriter. He wrote The Sweet East, that movie that Sean Price Williams directed. He's the editor at large of this magazine, and he did the Clint Eastwood interview. So I ordered my copy. Joe ordered his copy. You can go to metrograph.com right now. It's also fucking looks gorgeous. That cover looks amazing. It looks like a retro, awesome. Like Cahiers du Cinema.
It looks cool as shit. It looks cool as shit.
So go get yourself a pre-order a copy of the Metrograph magazine. It's the only way to ensure you get a copy. And there's a lot of great stuff in there, including this career-spanning,
that's awesome.
Unprecedented interview with Clint Eastwood.
I love Clint Eastwood.
All right, next up, we're going to review this week's new releases. That's Wicked, Gladiator 2, and Blitz. And while we do try to avoid any major plot spoilers in our reviews, it's impossible to give an honest review of these stinking movies without talking about them in their entirety. And so if we're reviewing a movie that you don't want spoiled in the least, not even a little bit, we recommend that you play it safe and put us on mute and rejoin us when we move on to the next movie. Just keep an eye on the screen graphics and you'll know what we're reviewing. Or if you're listening along, you can look in the show notes for the time codes. We're supposed to be building bridges with the local theaters. That New Beverly rant was probably a mistake. That was mostly me.
It was all you.
I feel like it was shared. It wasn't shared.
No, I was defending.
You were defending. That's right. You were defending them.
I was suggesting.
Okay, well, that's good.
I heard you about like indie people that work at indie theaters are like too cool for school, and they act like they're unhappy.
And they're like contemptuous.
Obviously, they're unhappy.
Obviously,
you're unhappy to be here.
Yeah,
you're not at home in bed, fucking eating, a sandwich.
I think we're good then, because my feeling is like as long as like one of the two of us support is like on the pro side, it's like supporting you. You can't be mad at the show because like one of the two people loves what you do.
Also, like we're just having fun.
We're just having fun. We're just having fun.
Tonight they're playing American Movie and Hands on a Hard
Body. I
know.
know.
Can you believe?
I'm
incredible.
I'm really upset. I didn't find a way to get to that.
We're here.
Those are two of my favorites.
We're doing the dang
two
thing.
of my favorites. I know we are. No, we love the New Beverly.
Obviously.
All right. Wicked is an adaptation of the stage musical by Stephen Schwartz and Winnie Holzman. The script was written by Holzman and Dana Fox. It's directed by John M. Chu, whose breakout hit was Crazy Rich Asians in 2018. He also directed the In the Heights movie in 2021. Have a warm-up for Wicked, getting his resume ready for Wicked. Similarly, the DP was the same DP as In the Heights and also Tick, Tick, Boom, Alice Brooks. So if you need a cinematographer for your big screen musical, call Alice Brooks, baby. Joe, did you like Wicked?
Brett, I loved Wicked. Wicked fit the bill. Wicked was a big screen musical adaptation that had great big performances, big songs, a fun story, and for a 2 hour and 40-minute runtime, Wicked moved right along. Me and the 1,015-year-old girls sitting with me in my theater all loved Wicked, and we were all crying at the end. We were all exchanging phone numbers saying, let's stay in touch after this. We're still going to be best friends,
that's
right?
Great. That's great.
Right?
That's great. That's the Wicked experience.
Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo were awesome. Let's talk about Grande first because she was paid $15 million, the big bucks.
Oh.
She's the front runner for Best Supporting Actress or whatever and all that. So let's talk about Ariana Grande, pop star, of course, now musical theater lady, of course, as she played Glinda, the Kristen Chenoweth character. I think Ariana Grande in this movie was very good. Would I nominate her for an Academy Award? No, I would not. But let's just face some facts. She did a great Kristen Chenoweth impression. She sung beautifully. She was funny. She carried the 3 hour long musical movie. She was big, and she did the press tour crazy with Crazy Cynthia, and they did a great job
They did a
there.
great job on
They
that.
nailed it. And I just feel like it'd be easy to sort of pick apart this performance because it's it's easy to pick apart this movie because it's silly and it's basic and it's the Wizard of Oz musical, and there's lots of things that aren't sophisticated about it. It's fun.
It's
first and foremost.
It's his strength. The strength of the movie is that it's kind of not great.
It's kind of not great, and I loved it.
Yeah.
Because sincerely, I thought that it moved. I thought the numbers were great. I loved the performances. I had never seen Wicked. I don't particularly like The Wizard of Oz. I like a version of fell in love with the characters. I was in the front row in an AMC recliner just looking up at Wicked because I bought my ticket sort of late, and I was just looking up at the screen, and I just found myself being like, fuck, like I really like Wicked. Wicked's magic system, like very funny.
Yeah.
They're mad about the green. Cynthia Erivo's The Wicked Witch of the West is green. They don't.
Right.
Everyone's like, "What the fuck, green?"
Right.
But
and this is like a magical world where goats talk and everything, but they really don't like when somebody's
they
green.
don't like green, but animals talk. Also, they all go to wizarding school, but only one person can be the wizarding student at a time if Michelle Yeoh finds one.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a wizarding student.
A surprisingly complicated lore that you can also just completely disregard.
But also, what was so funny is, and this all happens at Shiz University,
right? Which they say 100 times.
Which is the stupidest, weirdest. I don't understand like what
am
that's
I
in
missing
reference
something?
to. Like
they're almost like winking at you when they say shiz every time, and I'm like,
I don't get the joke.
I think that's kind of.
I don't get it.
That's almost what's charming about Wicked. I don't think there is a joke. I think they literally just thought they think shiz is like sort of funny sounding.
We sound dumb right now, but I want you that knows what that's all about to know that we're kind of right. Like what is that?
Because I shouldn't need to get the companion book on this. Like the joke has to explain itself, and that one doesn't.
I think the problem with Glicked, both Gladiator and Wicked, is like plot heads will not like this double feature, but the vibe heads,
plot heads not invited.
But like the vibe guys,
vibe heads.
If you're Viber, I saw these movies back to back double feature. I saw Brett and Sandy at the movies that day. I vibed.
Yes.
Through 2-3 hour movies like very happily.
Plot heads,
very happily.
Plot heads and like quality cops are not invited.
No,
are not invited. Vibe heads get a +1.
This is like it's that meme of the guy who sat out the bus window, happy out the bus window. It's just like go into these movies, be the guy happy out the bus window who's just like happy to be here, and you're gonna love Wicked.
Yes.
I do think that people want to be like, people are like, what happened to the movie musical? Shut the fuck up. It's like, if you want to watch Hello Dolly, like throw it on, dickhead. It was fucking the same as the dance they sang.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
I do love.
What happened to the movie musical? Well, I don't know. Last year, Steven Spielberg made West Side Story, like, in my opinion, like one of the 50 best movies of the fucking century. So
Chicago
far.
won all the Oscars a while back.
Shut
it's
the
fine.
fuck up.
You know, I do love that this year's Barbenheimer was. I mean, last year's Barbenheimer was weird, like a Barbie movie, and then a movie about the Manhattan Project, and then this year's Barbenheimer was a old school Hollywood musical and a sword and sandal movie. That's amazing.
Glicked, way better than Barbenheimer.
Wow, here we go.
Because
here we go.
Glicked goes down smooth, Brett. Oppenheimer, first of all, you got to sit there and you got to like take like 6 Adderall and like fucking like, take a cold shower, and you got to like fucking focus, and you got to like come out and pretend you weren't like bored. You'd be like, that was really, oh my God, that was so complicated, right? And you got to go to Barbie and be like, it's okay that it's a movie about a product. I'm just going to kind of
smile
ride
through
it out. And it is funny enough, and it is charming.
It's
and
actually
I'm
very
having fun.
subversive.
It's actually, right. Oh, it's just like, there's so much like baggage with both those movies. And Oppenheimer, folks, I love Oppenheimer. I am one of you. I am a nerd, but also like, let's not kid ourselves. It's a 7-hour-long, boring ass movie that I love. Glicked's like zoop, like it's just like a nice, refreshing. It's the easiest 2 movies to watch I've ever seen.
Here's a hot take.
Easy to watch.
Even though Barbie and Oppenheimer will end up standing the test of time as the more like critically appreciated movies out of these 4.
Easy.
this was more Glicked was more for the movie, the real movie fans, like the down and dirty fucking addicts, like the one that can't. We just have to go to the movies because we're literally getting these like old school genres. I thought were dead in the water, just like coming back in full force. And they're not complicated movies. They don't demand a lot from you. It's just pure spectacle.
They demand you actually turn your brain off sometimes and just kind of like vibe and enjoy. It was so much better. Like, would I rather watch Oppenheimer or Gladiator 2 tonight? I'd rather watch Gladiator 2. Arrest me.
Right.
Would you rather watch Barbie or Wicked? Wicked every time. So I don't know. Anyway, I liked Wicked. I thought it was great and cute and charming. And like, if you're grumping about Wicked, like you're just like a cranky old man. Like, no offense to all the people that I know that thought it was just okay. Like, you're a cranky old man or old woman.
I think Wicked gets credit for knowing its strengths and not trying to be something that's not. I thought that was the best two things it did. It is because it's like it by not putting a whole lot of baggage on, like, you know, it's not like it's not hilarious, but it's not trying to be hilarious. It's like charming to the right ratio that it needs to be charming. It's funny to the extent that it needs to be funny. It's not hilarious, but it's like funny enough. It is like there are obviously a couple songs that are bangers. There's a lot of really forgettable like music interstitials going on, but like, so like you can't like, if you don't have it, don't pretend to have it. Just wait until the next banger. And like the themes are from like a middle school book report, but fine. The characters are one dimensional, fine. Because what this all does is it like lowers the work they have to do so they can just focus exclusively on spectacle. The whole thing is just a massive fucking spectacle that doesn't really demand a lot from you. I gotta imagine this is a pretty faithful, solid adaptation of the musical, which we've never seen, but like, how could it not be? I thought it was fun and great. And like, it's like, you did Wicked.
I enjoyed.
Come get your prize.
You did Wicked.
You did Wicked.
I enjoyed learning about the world of shiz during Wicked.
Okay, I did not.
I did. I enjoyed. I just
give a shit about
no,
shiz.
I liked all of shiz. I was like, oh, weird. Like, that's what cafeteria is like. Like, it was so. I don't know. I thought the movie was surprisingly just charming and simple and nice, and the music was great. And there's nothing simple about how talented and vocalist Cynthia Erivo is. Like, you know, she's fucking incredible. I know she's silly in the interviews, but when it comes to freaking singing and acting at the same time, you can't beat that, man.
And also, I mean, based on everything we've discussed tonight about Snow White and Captain America and these just slam dunk IPs that Hollywood finds a way to fuck up, a movie like Wicked deserves credit for not fucking up a slam dunk. That's kind of like how I would sum up Wicked. Is it was a slam dunk and it fucking slam dunked it. It didn't fuck up a slam dunk.
I would rather stick my hand in a waffle maker than say that John Chu should get nominated for Best Director, but I would rather
open that waffle maker, baby.
But I would rather stick my hand in.
Here we go. What's the worst thing you can imagine?
A vat of angry bees. Than not nominate.
I think the waffle iron's worse.
Wicked has to be nominated for Best Picture.
Got it. Yeah, no, it does. It does.
Because there's 10.
Yes. Yeah.
And if you're going to have 10, then you have to have Wicked be in there.
It should be nominated for Best Picture.
But John Chu, God bless him. Good job. I love the movie.
Also,
not you. Sorry, buddy.
Let me talk about the one issue I have with this is people are saying Ariana is like a shoo-in for Best Supporting Actor nominee, might even win the damn thing. We have to talk about this because I actually don't have a big problem with that. It's a basic performance, but it's also a classic Hollywood song and dance performance, and that is its own skill set. And it's not gonna, this kind of performance is not gonna look like Marcia Gay Harden or Philip Seymour Hoffman. Like, it's gonna look differently because different things are demanded. And based on what the performance demanded, I thought she nailed it. She did a great job.
I agree.
However, if we're gonna start nominating these kind of performance, like, I got a backlog of nominees that need to be nominated because nominating Ariana, here's the thing I'll say, nominating Ariana Grande for an Oscar would be like nominating Austin Powers or nominating Mike Myers for Austin Powers. But also I think we should be doing that. But I just don't like, it's like, we're going to start doing it now because the popular girl did it. And so we have to reward the popular girl for the good job she did. But it's like, can we, like, if we're going to start like taking these kind of performances seriously for Oscars, let's fucking do it. But there's a lot of other types of performances like this that are that deserve recognition for being high level entertainment, even if they don't sort of meet the like super serious sort of dramatic expectations of what the Academy voters think of as a good performance. I'm fine with it. I just don't like that it's like we're doing it because it's the popular girl, whereas like there's a lot of other people that deserve this kind of recognition for similar performances. So hey, look, if we're doing it, we gotta keep doing it. If Ariana's gonna get nominated, then next year's Ariana has to get nominated.
Just throwing out there, like last year, Danielle Brooks was nominated for Best Supporting Actress for a musical. Like,
but the color before that, the color purple has more sort of I don't know, thematic heft than Wicked does.
I see your point isn't about performers singing and dancing. You're
just
saying
forever.
It's a first thought performance that's in a simple, not deep. It's not a deep performance.
The Oscars,
it's full of talent.
Yes.
It just isn't some great introspective piece of acting.
But I like recognizing that.
Yeah, me too.
It's just the Oscars have forever sent the message that if you have fun in your movie, you can fuck off.
And you're just saying, oh, now that a world-class pop star's having fun, she gets to get nominated.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a little bit of that going on. The rich get richer, you know?
Yeah,
whereas I think there's a lot of people who should be getting nominated for these types of performances. That's my only gripe with it. Oh, whatever, it's fine.
But that hasn't happened yet, so maybe we don't know what's going to happen.
Everybody's saying it's a shoe-in. She's on our power rankings.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a shoe-in.
All right, let's talk about Gladiator 2. Actually, before we do that really quickly, I do want to give a shout out to something that I am always excited to see in TV movies, which is Peter Dinklage, who's the voice of like the Goat Professor. Peter Dinklage is doing his like not quite a British accent. He's doing his like his old-fashioned accent, his like fairy tale accent, and I love it.
Fantasy man.
Yes, it's like well, it's an interesting tale, my boy, and if you sit down, I will tell you. It's like so close to British, but not. It's like this generic high fantasy accent that he does. He did it in Game of Thrones. He does it here. I fucking love it.
The goat was so funny, and when the goat gets like racistly goat attacked, it was and like everybody in Wicked's treating it like that was just such like a disorienting moment of like, oh, Wicked's trying to do a thing.
Yeah,
Wicked. Also, shout out Bowen Yang.
Bowen's in it.
Cracked me up.
Yeah,
and your scene partner too.
Everyone
very funny.
Everyone was great, top to bottom. So yeah, go see Wicked if you haven't already. Although you probably have, based on the box office. Let's talk about Gladiator 2. A direct sequel to 2000's Gladiator. This is directed and produced by Ridley Scott, of course. Written by David Scarpa, a frequent Ridley Scott collaborator who wrote Napoleon last year, even though we recently found out that PTA came in and did punch-ups because Joaquin was throwing a Joaquin fit. The DP here was John Matheson, also a frequent Ridley Scott collaborator. They started together on the first Gladiator. So the same DP from Gladiator 1 did Gladiator 2.
Awesome. I didn't know that. That's sick.
Love that. The movie stars Paul Mescal, Pedro Pascal, Joseph Quinn, Fred Heckinger, Connie Nielsen, and of course, Denzel Washington. It was produced by Scott's company, Scott Free, and distributed by Paramount. Joe, can I go first on this one?
Absolutely.
I saw Gladiator 2 last night, and I really freaking enjoyed it. I had a great time at the movies.
There you go.
And first and foremost, I want to say I was overjoyed, and I've already alluded to this a little bit. I was overjoyed that in the year 2024, Ridley Scott got Paramount to pay $250 million for an old school sword and sandal movie. Oh my God. Because Gladiator 2 reminded me way more of the sword and sandal movies of the 50s and 60s when the genre was at its peak. We're talking your Ben-Hur, your Spartacus, your Quo Vadis, your The Robe. And by sword and sandal, I'm talking about movies that are set in sort of Greco-Roman antiquity, and there's sword fights and Roman gladiators, and there's early days of Christianity stuff going on. You know the genre, you know it when you see it. But whereas I thought the whole point of the first Gladiator in 2000 was to kind of like update and like transcend the sword and sandal genre. It was all about turning sword and sandal into this, like giving it this like
elevated,
this muscular action movie makeover and making it like cool for the new generation. You know, this ain't your mama's sword and sandal movie. That was the vibe when the first Gladiator came out.
Nailed it.
And it was a rusty old genre, so it probably needed that kind of like oomph, that adrenaline burst. And then that kind of leads into 300, or paves the way for 300 in 2006, which was trying to do something similar to give the sword and sandal genre like a comic book kind of a violent comic book makeover. But other than that, the genre really hasn't produced anything of note this century besides those two movies. I mean, it's been known more for its duds than its hits. You know, Alexander is a famous, example of that. I mean, Troy did so, but didn't set the world on fire. Same with the Clash of the Titans remake. Exodus, Gods and Kings, anybody, right? This isn't like but of course, because this isn't a like genre that that screams sort of like relevance and 21st century issues and concerns and so forth. But that's why I loved Gladiator 2, because it was like shockingly relaxed for this, like a sequel to the first Gladiator, this massive movie. It has this massive budget. The movie was just sort of relaxed and didn't like, even though you get these little fan service moments here and there, like the big one is like Paul Mescal putting on Russell Crowe's like armor or whatever. The movie didn't have like the anxiety of influence thing going on, where like you could tell that it was stressing about its like legacy in the first one. It was just very relaxed, being a more classic throwback sword and sandal movie. I thought it had all that great like palace intrigue going on. It did have some killer sword fights. It was like a little cheesier than the first one, which I really liked. It just sort of like, it just wasn't as like, I don't know. It wasn't stressing about being like a prestige movie. It was like really relaxed and comfortable in what it was doing. And I liked that a lot. And I liked just getting a more classic throwback sword and sandal movie, and not this thing where it's like, we're going to reinvent the genre and update it for the kids. And like, it had none of that. It was like pure
Just do it again.
Palace intrigue. Yeah. Togas, sandals, sword fights, really corny speeches. Like I really liked it. I had a lot of fun. And so it was a lot like Wicked, to be honest, where it's like, man, nothing like a movie that kind of knows itself and is not trying to like punch above its weight and is just like kind of nailing a genre, like just really relaxed nailing a genre.
This confidence you're speaking to, or this sort of like non-stressed outness, this sort of mellow tone, or this sort of just like, it's because Ridley Scott's made 1 million movies.
Yeah.
And he doesn't give a shit about historical accuracy, famously.
Love it.
And he doesn't give a shit about anything other than telling a ripping good yarn.
As soon as I saw The Great Whites,
he doesn't give a fuck about you. So his movies are really watchable.
Yeah. As soon as I saw The Great Whites, I was like, yeah, it's not historical. Like, why were you?
I love that part, dude.
Like the historians were trying to come to for this movie because it's not historically accurate. It's like
find a new slant.
It's like boldly historically inaccurate. It's
find
like
stop with this genre of like analysis where you tell us why this couldn't happen. What'd you think of the movie, asshole?
Now let's go through the performances, because I think number one, Denzel is fantastic.
Denzel's awesome.
It's the performance we were promised.
He just does Denzel in a toga, and it is heaven on earth.
Literally in the like last half of the movie, just watching his eyes.
I love him.
It's like a movie within the movie. Like just watching. Like Denzel like looks at this guy for like 10 seconds, and then like looks at this guy for 2 seconds, and back at this guy for 10 seconds, and it's like, that's a whole fucking story there. Just who Denzel is looking at and how he's looking at them.
So fun. And he fit in like a glove. He didn't like, he stood out because he was the best, but he didn't like steal show. No. He was like in and of the movie. He was awesome.
And people have been referring to this as a vintage Denzel performance. I actually think it's kind of a singular Denzel performance, and kind of a unique one in some specific ways, which I liked, which is that to me, like the classic Denzel thing is that he stands up to authority, like boldly and openly stands up to authority. He doesn't kiss the ring. He doesn't lick the boot. He is a bold, courageous, sort of anti-authoritarian character that's heroic. And even when he's a villain in Training Day, he's out in the street saying King Khan ain't got shit on me. Like, it's like Denzel characters, for good or for bad, are usually characterized by their sort of like self-possessed like boldness in the face of whatever their antagonist is. Whereas in Gladiator, we get like sneaky Denzel. We get like says one thing to your face and then stabs you in the back the second you turn around. We get Littlefinger Denzel. We get palace intrigue Denzel. That is a little bit of a twist on the Denzel formula, and he like It is. Again, talk about being relaxed and not worried. Like, he is giving this performance gleefully. Yeah. There's no sort of like, oh, but what will this do to my brand thing? Denzel could give a shit about that, right? The brand is strong and stronger now, stronger than ever now, because he is killing it in this little sort of twist on what we think of with Denzel. And I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I think that people...
More of this.
I think it kind of reminds people of some classic Denzel performances, just in the fact that the character is like just the bluster, the confidence, the swagger.
Right.
You know,
No, everything
has all that.
A lot of the affects, a lot of the intonations is classic Denzel. But I think the character itself is not. I was trying to go back in the filmography. You don't really get like a sneaky guy.
He's always in charge.
Yes,
right.
right?
Yeah.
He's always like says it to your face, not behind your back. But here we get sneaky Denzel. I love it. I love it. I also want to give a shout out to Paul Mescal. I'm kind of surprised. Like right now, I know there was like initial buzz around the performance, sort of like little Oscar buzz. Now we seem to be in a little bit of a backlash. People are saying it's sort of a boring, dull performance.
I disagree.
I liked it a lot.
Me too.
I liked it a lot. And this is a guy that I've, famously been skeptical of just because I thought the
shorts.
I just thought all the tabloid stuff was outpacing the body of work. I love the tabloid stuff. I like it to keep pace with the body of work so we don't get the hype train going off the tracks. I'm trying to protect you, Paul Mescal.
Right.
I'm trying to protect you. Here, though, we got what I think is his strongest performance that I've seen. I liked him in that movie with Andrew Scott last year, was in The Comfort of Strangers. And he's doing a similar thing in both these movies I like a lot, where you get, in interviews and stuff, you get like cute baby girl, bashful Paul Mescal with his shorts, and he's all, oh, geez, all shucks kind of like thing. I've honestly never seen an actor who is like that in real life, who can so completely like evaporate those instincts from their body when they are acting, because he is like hard and like soulless and angry in this movie.
Andrew
It's
Garfield
kind of amazing.
Do it. Yeah,
no, Garfield could not.
He could never do it.
Mescal is no Garfield.
No,
Mescal can go dark and can
Mescal's
access some dark things and can literally like manifest it in his entire body.
Yeah.
Like his physique changes in this performance. And I actually thought his performance was really good. Like for what is like a hard thing to do, which is to be the protagonist in one of these movies. Like he gave us a very sort of like dark, tortured, interesting, like angry, mean protagonist. And I liked it a lot. I thought the performance was really good.
His whole thing was the rage drove this character and that read.
I liked it a lot.
It read
I liked
authentically.
it a lot.
Yeah, Mescal was really good.
I give Mescal props. I thought everyone else was solid.
Connie Nielsen.
Yeah.
Shout out.
I thought, Pedro unfortunately doesn't. I thought he had the least interesting character because he has to do the guy that's like, he does the bad things, but he really feels bad about it. He feels bad about it.
I want to give Pedro props though.
Oh, I feel so bad. I had to kill all those people.
I'm hard on him, and he does play that character.
They didn't deserve it.
He plays it with some. He plays it with some dignity.
No, he's good.
And
It's
some,
just,
he
I think
plays
it's
it with
just sort of a
dignity
lame
and
character.
agency. It is a little tiny bit lame. I think he was actually kind of good, and I'm not his biggest fan. So I was down for Pedro in this movie.
He can do sad really well. He can do like sad, tortured face really well. So that would I think that was good. But the character was just,
Joseph Quinn is a good actor.
Oh, those two little twisted twin emperors.
Yeah.
Fred Heckinger and Joseph Quinn. They did great.
They did really well.
Yeah.
I hate the queer coding of like villainy always, right?
But of course, the old James Adomian bit.
In this movie, like, and in so many like Roman things, there's so much like they fuck little boys. So much of that in Gladiator 2. But again, they're both really good in it.
No, there was a lot of the old school,
and then those will go, the brothers, kind of weird. And then, but look, love the action. Love the rhino. Love the boats.
Dude, the rhino, the boats, the sharks. Come on.
Love the sharks.
It was great.
Love all the fights in the ring. I didn't know I gave a shit about that. I loved it. And I liked, kind of different than your take, but ultimately the same in that we both enjoyed this. Like, I thought it was really kind of charming that it really was Gladiator 2. It's like, it's not like Gladiator the reboot, or it's like 100 years later.
You need to know what happened in Gladiator.
Oh yeah, and it's like no. And then for whatever reason, and we're not plot heads, but it is funny. It's like, oh, you're Russell Crowe's son, and I'm your mother, and I know you were actively fighting to destroy Rome, but now because of this new information, I need you to fight like for Rome. Like, if you start like kind of thinking about it, it kind of falls apart. But if you don't think about it, it feels smooth going down.
Don't think about it.
So fun.
Don't think about it.
Just
don't think about
the
it.
Fuck up and enjoy.
Don't think about it.
Not everything is like, not. Sometimes movies want to be interrogated like that. And sometimes movies want to entertain you, and you need to be open to that. open yourself.
No, I am
chilling the fuck out.
I do not. I refuse to get a PhD in your lore. I am here to see a movie for the next 2 hours. You have 2 hours to entertain me. If I don't get something, it's because it's not here in the movie. I shouldn't have to go access other sources of information to figure it out. And both Wicked and Gladiator were delightfully sort of, the lore was very take it or leave it. The plot was very take it or leave it. The spectacle was
Huge.
Forefront. It was an old school weekend at the movies, baby, and that's why it's doing so well, because there's some things that ain't broken, so you don't need to fix them. Let's talk. Before we get to Blitz, this is huge, Joe. We haven't talked about it. Gladiator 2 is the last movie that we haven't watched on our fantasy movie draft. It's my movie. And right now, so this is what we did at the beginning of the year. We picked movies that were coming out this year that we thought that you and I would like. Right, what are going to be our favorite movies? We're going to draft them, and the movie that gets the team that gets the highest ratings wins, and we rate them on a score of out of 5. And so right now you are ahead, 40.5 to 30.5. 40.5 to 30.5.
I'm 10 points ahead of you.
10 points ahead
so
of me.
Gladiator
so the best
2
I could do, Gladiator 2
has to get a 10.
Has a potential of 10. So it has to get a perfect score.
And then we tie.
It has a perfect score, and then we would tie.
Wow.
So
what we did is we gave them number rankings 1 out of 5, and then we added them up, and then that's how we got the scores at the bottom. So the last one to grade is Gladiator 2. Should I go first?
Yes.
Well, I'll go first. Gladiator 2, I'm not even going to build it up. I'm just going to tell you.
Yes.
4 stars.
That's exactly what I gave it. 4 stars too. It gets an 8. That is like almost
4
objective.
stars.
Almost objective.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you're like a miserable asshole or you don't like violence, it's a 4.
Yes.
Right.
So that brings me up to a 38.5, my final total. So that means, Joe.
Is this happening?
Yes. You are
really
our 2024 Fantasy Movie Draft
my
winner.
God.
With your slate of Civil War, Furiosa, Mad Max Saga, Megalopolis, Conclave, and Janet Planet. What a roster.
In retrospect, there's some nice calls. Brett, nothing to sneeze at, though, with your roster. Monkey Man, Gladiator 2, The Bike Riders felled you. Terrifier 3, honestly, and I saw the TV glove.
Bike Riders fucked me up.
But if Bike Riders was...
Jeff Nichols, damn you.
If Bike Riders was like 2 points better, Brett, you'd be taking this home, man.
Wow. Bike Riders was it. It was the only like true like
it was a real disappointment.
Dud.
Yeah, it was a real disappointment.
So Joe, for winning the inaugural fantasy movie draft, which we'll do every year,
I win.
I've gotten you a prize for winning, and I got this at the Only in Hollywood gift shop.
Whoa!
And it's a little piece of memorabilia for a recent movie. I can't remember. I think you like this movie, but here's your prize. Your prize. So let's see what's in there. Show the people what you got.
Oh my Lord.
For winning the fantasy movie
I won the
draft.
fantasy movie. Oh, I don't. Okay, it's a pop. It's a Funko. Wow! It's a wow!
What is it?
It's a red one Callum Drift Funko Pop.
Wow! It's a red one.
It's a
Funko
red
Pop.
one Funko Pop.
Red one.
Callum
Funko Pop.
Drift, who of course famously is the Rock's character. His name is Callum Drift, and here is a Funko. I don't have any Funko Pops, Brett. This is my first one. This is incredible. I am now the proud owner of a red one. Callum Drift.
This is Rock's character in Red One.
I can't believe A, they made this, and B, you found it.
Oh yeah,
this is really nice. I think this is a funny and good gift. I think this is great.
Pretty cool.
I can't believe it. How much is one of these? Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah, a little bit too much. A little bit too much.
I always wonder what these run a fella. $22. Beautiful, Brett. Thank you very much.
Well, you did it. You earned it.
I love it. I'm gonna put them right here for the rest of the show.
All right. All right. So that's Joe's prize for winning. Really quickly, let's talk about Blitz before we put an end to the first half of the show. So Blitz, which you can watch right now on Apple TV. If you don't have Apple TV, just just wait till all their award season movies are on there and then do a 7-day free trial or whatever. It's written, produced, and directed by Steve McQueen, who has made Hunger, 12 Years a Slave, Shame, Widows. It now makes Blitz. The DP on this was Yorick Lasso. The film stars Saoirse Ronan and Elliot Heffernan in his film debut. That's the kid. And it was distributed by Apple. Now, the film takes place, as the title suggests, in London during World War II, while the Nazis are flying over in their dumb planes and dropping their dumb bombs on the city. And what happens is, because everyone in London is just their whole their life revolves around, at night trying to hide from these bombings. And so they try to go down in the subway, but some of the subways are off limits because they're not safe to be in, blah, blah, blah. And so what ends up happening, and I believe this is true, it's really happened, is people would put their children, like their young children. In this case, this kid is probably like,
of course, it's true.
8
That'd be
to
so
10.
funny
What if
if
it's not
this one
true?
wasn't. Yeah,
Well, I
right.
just never had heard of this before.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
I've heard of the Blitz, I never heard the story
right.
before. So they would load up these kids on trains and basically try to get all the kids out of the city because it's like, well, at least we can save our children or get them out of danger. And they would take them into the country to like, I don't know, converted boarding schools or whatever, or in hotels or hospitals or something, and keep them there until the Blitz is over. But this one kid, Saoirse Ronan's kid, jumps off this train and then goes on this wild sort of Dickensian journey, meeting all these characters high and low across London, the environs of London, in order to get back to his mother and reunite with his mother. Because he says, no, we're doing this together. However this turns out, we're going to be together. Blitz. I did a couple things to say about Blitz, Joe, if you don't mind. A couple things. And I'm going to pass it over to you.
Movie podcast. You tell me.
Blitz is... it's an interesting movie because it is not remotely what I was expecting from this movie. I saw Steve McQueen's doing a London Blitz thing. I was expecting more of kind of a straightforward historical movie about the Blitz because McQueen he's almost like Christopher Nolan in the way he sort of alternates with consistency. Because if you look at his movies, he does Hunger, his very realistic historical movie about the
IRA prisons.
Hunger Fast, with Fassbender in it. Then he does Shame. So he does sort of like modern neo-noir sort of thing. And then he does 12 Years a Slave, historical again, very gritty, realistic historical movie about slavery. Then he does Widows, again, like gritty neo-noir, modern city sort of thing. Action.
Yeah, it is modern city.
And now he's doing Blitz, a historical movie again. So he sort of like alternates between these sort of modern, gritty things and then these historical movies. Yeah. So in that sense, it was pretty much in line with his career. But the tone and the style of the movie really kind of surprised me. This was not what I was expecting from Blitz because the way I would describe it is it almost feels like he did like his Steve McQueen's version of like a YA novel or like a sort of a Disney movie, or it was sort of like when Martin Scorsese did Hugo. Like this almost feels like one that Steve McQueen, like he's like, I'm going to do a movie that my kids can watch, because even though it involves, violence and intense scenes around the Blitz and around the separation of this mother and son, it has a much sort of softer, almost whimsical tone than a lot of McQueen's movies. The camera kind of turns away from extreme violence. There's not a lot of graphic or really any graphic violence in this movie. The camera constantly sort of turns away from those moments. And the story of this boy's journey through London to find his mother becomes really the spine of the movie, and the Blitz kind of just fades into the background as the context of the movie. And it's really about this boy's journey to reconnect with his mom, and it has a very, again, I'll say the word again, it has a very Dickensian feel. Just all these sort of colorful characters who are trying to survive during the Blitz, and he sort of meets them all on his way back to his mom. So it is tonally, it's very different from the movies that Steve McQueen's made before. Stylistically too, and just in terms of the narrative, the story he wanted to tell here, it all took me off guard. But overall, I thought it was kind of a charming and interesting movie. Also, a movie that I am kind of still thinking about. I don't know. I feel like I have to watch it again because I was so taken off guard by the nature of it. But Joe, you were raving before about how much you love this movie, and this is perfect because I'm just dying to hear somebody sell me on Blitz, like hardcore sell me on Blitz. So what do you guys say about this movie?
I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to champion Blitz because I thought Blitz was a little better than great. I really thought Blitz was truly excellent. First of all, Steve McQueen, I don't think he's underrated. I think everyone who knows he's one of the best. He's one of Britain's best. And he's one of like the world's best directors, in my opinion. And he's sort of put together a little bit of a super team here with his production team and the camera team. And they put together a very gorgeously shot, beautifully designed, wonderfully paced, like powerful in a very mature, understated way, a very like tender, loving human story that focused on areas of World War II, which they've written 1 trillion books about and made a bajillion movies about. And 3 of them ever focus on the women of the war or focus on the people of color that lived in Britain, like from either whether they were Londoners or they lived from the outskirts of the empire, working in town. You just got a lot of different voices and different angles, but it wasn't pedantic, boring, like woke the bad version we can see sometimes. Not like this is the good, beautiful, nuanced, personal, tender way. And he put together a freaking like who's who to make this absolutely gorgeous, mature, tender film. Yorick Lasso, the cinematographer, incredible. He worked on Little Women. He did the Claire Denis.
He
movie.
did a Claire Denis movie.
High Life, Personal
Yeah.
Shopper, I Am Love, one of the most beautiful Paolo Sorrentino movies ever. And Yorick and Steve McQueen work together so beautifully. And Yorick pulls so much from other Steve McQueen stuff, like that gorgeous, absolutely fucking gorgeous shot at the end of the water, and then you see the shadows of the bombers sort of in the water, and it really,
those interstitials were
so beautiful,
really
and it really reminded me of like in 12 Years a Slave when he's looking off the back of the boat and those propellers are in the water, like hitting it over and over and over again. The way Steve McQueen can sort of like lull you into sleep, even though he's dragging you deeper and deeper into danger technically in the story. And Yorick Lasso like picks that up and runs with it. And the two of them, they should teach like a workshop called Framing the Camera, and I'd pay like $1 million to take it, like these shots of like eyeballs with reflections and using Saoirse Ronan, who's wonderful in this so perfectly, and they're so precious about the little boy, but it's not manipulative in any way. This kid's not amazing. This kid's not anything. He's just a kid, but the kid's black, so he has a black mom, a black dad, and a white mom, and that's weird in World War II London because everyone's being racist and mean to the kid, and like, a version of like, who knew there was. Of course there were. You never think about that. During the Blitz, there were there were black children that were being attacked racistly while the Blitz was also happening. Well, I never thought about that.
That's a great point because that's also the one of the still untold stories of World War II in general is like, because everyone wants the headline to be "We defeated the Nazis," but then it's like, well, there was a lot of black soldiers that did that, and then when they came back home, they couldn't use the GI Bill to buy houses. Yeah, but you guys could. So no, there's like, I think that is like an undertold story because everyone wants to focus on like, we beat the Nazis.
Yeah, it's very like it, and it wasn't complicated. I thought the movie was actually patriotic, like in a British sense. Like Steve McQueen's a British guy. He's like, it's not like the Shawshank Redemption emotionally at the end. It's really kind of like mature and muted and human. But I definitely think that it's like a patriotic film, but also it has this, there's some like, there's some flies in the ointment for that patriotism that he explores in a really adult fashion. Adam Stockhausen did the production design. He does a lot of the Wes Anderson movies, Grand Budapest. He did 12 Years a Slave production design. Stockhausen did the new Indiana Jones movie, which looked gorgeous and stunk. And Anna Pinnock was the set decorator, worked on Tenet, Ready Player One, Fantastic Beasts.
This movie looks great.
Dude, it looks fucking gorgeous. Every shot is fucking spectacular.
Tell us what that budget was, Apple. We want to know the budget.
Had that been $180 million. Hans Zimmer's composition, understated. It's like all of these apps. Oh, and then Jacqueline Duran, the costume designer, Barbie, Matt Reeves,
like
the Batman.
Powerhouse.
These are
crew.
the best people,
Powerhouse.
and Steve McQueen is like the best director, and he knows like how to make these people sing. And the most beautiful thing about Blitz is like, it just is so advanced as like a story, and it's so restrained about something so literally, bombastic and so impactful and so historically top of mind. This like famous thing, and also I think that the performance Saoirse Ronan delivers is just as lovely, technically proficient and understated and brilliant as the rest of the team did. I thought she was awesome, and when the kid, spoiler alert, they find each other at the end. When the kid finds the mom at the end, it's not like, of course it's very impactful, but it's not. He just
it's sort of anticlimactic.
She finds him.
Yeah,
they hug each other.
Yeah,
the movie's they pull back. There's Blitz. It looks amazing. The movie's kind of over. Like,
Yeah.
so interesting. And when I think of Steve McQueen's contemporaries and this decade of World War II films and the submissions that we've gotten from our greats, I think this is like a very unique one that it will. I hope it grows in estimation. This is not Steve McQueen's worst movie. This is a much better movie than Widows, which has a great Daniel Kaluuya performance and not much else. And
Colin Farrell's great in that movie too.
A lot of great performances in that movie. Like Viola Davis great in that movie.
Davis
Like, it's a
great,
lot of fun
yeah.
stuff, but like it's not a great, amazing movie. This movie, I think, is actually kind of special. It gives it basically is like a double bird to Sam Mendes. He's like
I like that. I support that.
Watch me track
I support
through some
that.
fire,
Yeah,
dickhead.
yeah,
And I don't need to like, make it a whole stunt. Like, let me
Yeah.
just watch. Like, let me show you how to do this beautifully. Beats the piss out of 1917. I know that's World War I, not World War II. Dunkirk is Nolan doing Nolan stuff, and Dunkirk's incredible. I'm not saying it's better than Dunkirk. It's just like Dunkirk gives you, gives you like good old fashioned like white guy stuff, like really good. And I'm not saying Blitz is really good because finally we get to see a different story. I'm just saying like Blitz is really good because the story is brilliant. And it's personal in the sense that Steve McQueen's bringing what must be interesting to him, a Black British man, into the film in such like an advanced way. I just thought the movie was like simple on its face, but actually really intricate with a lot of real prose, making every frame beautiful. And I think the reason that you might have walked away going, that was really good, but I don't love it, is because streaming diminishes the cinema.
That's interesting.
Like if we saw this on 70 millimeter at the Vista, you might be like, that was interesting and like gorgeous. And like, or if it had theatrical, I know it had a small theatrical release, but there's something about playing it on Apple Plus and playing it on your fucking computer or your TV or like having it in your house. It just reduces it. And this movie is going to get none of the like love that these theatrical release movies are going to get. This movie is going to get passed by. This movie, I think, is I haven't seen all the movies this year. This is a contender, a best picture for me. I just think I think it's too mature, understated, and again, tender to be flashy enough for Oscar voters. It's very soft and feminine in that way, but my God, is it impactful. And as the Blitz, like, he never shows you the night of the bombs until the end, and it is fucking terrifying. He just played. I was just impressed. Deft touches.
Love it.
Deft touches.
All right. Joe says go see Blitz.
What do you think about? Do you hear what I'm saying?
I do. I do.
Okay.
I think you make a very impassioned and convincing argument for this movie.
And then finally,
I'll have to see it again. And I think you're right. I mean, I think it is. Part of it is this is a movie that should be seen in theaters, and that I think that definitely maybe diminished my experience of it on the first watch. I was also just it was that thing where I was just not. I was very surprised, pleasantly surprised, but surprised by the tone and style of the movie, and so you're kind of just like sort of acclimating to that for a little bit, and like I would definitely rewatch this.
I also think it's it's apropos in the sense that like children shouldn't have to endure the horrors of war.
Yeah.
No one should.
Yeah.
Children should not have to endure the horrors of war.
Yeah.
When they were all in the subway and the chain link fence was going to drown all of them.
Oh, God.
And then he had to like slip in under the thing and get out. And I was like, children currently are enduring war like, every day all over the world. Like the movie also has this thing of like, we got to end war.
Yeah, right.
Like, which is always like a good one to remember.
That
like
classic common sense plea of like,
please,
do you see this?
Never do
you want to do this again?
This is not
do this
worth
again?
it.
Yeah.
Anyway, good movie.
All right, that'll conclude this episode of Movies Baby. But we're coming back in just about 10 minutes to do a new episode of Weekend at Bergman's.
See you there.
Only for the Patreon subscribers. That's patreon.com/moviesbaby with 5 Ys. Tonight, baby, we are doing... Oh, this is next week. Let's talk about next week. So next week, we are reviewing Moana 2, of course. We're going to talk about The Piano Lesson.
Ooh,
Piano Lesson.
That I want to watch. Moana 2, I don't care about.
Denzel's kids directing and starring in this, The Family Business.
Love it.
I cannot wait to see The Piano Lesson. And then next week on Weekend at Bergman's in the second half of the show, it is Animated Movies Baby, which I know you hate in theory, but this one you love.
No, it rocks.
This one you love. Akira representing the art house versus The Little Mermaid representing
no notes.
The popcorn movies, the movie that officially saved Disney. The Great Mouse Detective does not get enough credit for getting them back on the right track.
I love Great Mouse Detective.
So good.
And I love
also,
Little Mermaid.
I read an argument this week, an article about how, because it's always like, The Little Mermaid saved Disney, Little Mermaid. apparently Great Mouse Detective like righted the ship and kind of like stabilized everything so they could do, because the writer of the Great Mouse Detective wrote Little Mermaid. Yeah.
Well, Brett, save it for next week's
I know.
pod.
All right. More where that came from next week. And then right now in a mere 10 minutes, we are going to be pitting Cruising versus Roadhouse. I have not made my decision yet. I do not know which way I'm going to go.
Who knows?
I'm going to let the conversation go where it goes, and then I'm going to be honest with you, which is what we do on all of our shows, but definitely on Weekend at Bergman's.
Yeah.
So go sign up for the Patreon, patreon.com/moviesbaby, so you don't miss this fun second half of the show we're about to have. We'll see you there. Bye.
Bye.